Hello, Top Fan Rivalry followers. It's Bill from Top Fan Rivalry. We're going to do something a little different, something that has been on the sidelines being talked about for at least 12 to 18 months. But as we mentioned, we're doing 10 new podcasts this year. The first five episodes will always be on YouTube, and then they go into the locker room. We'll make sure that you have codes for that. But today, Dave Schaefer and I, a good friend of mine, are launching our new podcast called College. With the backwards K, that's right. We're going to talk a little college baseball. So, Dave, how the heck are you? And are you excited to finally get this off the ground?
Great. I'm ready for college baseball season. Yeah, I'm ready for college baseball season, and a lot of people are all keyed up about pitchers and catchers reporting for spring training. And to me, that's that's whatever. All the college kids are back on campus playing scrimmages, getting ready for real games coming up in late January, February. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? N-
Absolutely. And the way things have changed in minor league baseball, college baseball takes on a much more prominent role. And, conferences like the SEC, the ACC, the better conferences are really minor league baseball. It's that quality. So
yeah, yeah,
it's fun.
they are. I mean, I looked at a number of teams last year as you and I were discussing this back end on how to do this. I looked at a number of teams and looked at a number of players, and you've got some kids that throw hard on the mound. You've got some guys that have pop, speed, and they're playing for their dream. The guys that we watch, every night at 7:10 or on Sunday, afternoon, they've hit that pinnacle, and then life gets in the way. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like the other sports, right? I mean, people watch the NBA for a certain reason, but they like college basketball for a different reason. It's the same thing. It's the game in a more pure level. And, the guys are there playing for the love of the game, for their education, to try to make it to the next level. They're not on, there's NIL out there, but they're not on huge contracts, and they're kids. And you're gonna get what you get. I mean, you got guys in college baseball that are barely 18 years old. You got some guys on their sixth and seventh season because of COVID in their early to mid 20s and everything in between. So you've got grown men against guys that are, you know, barely 18. So
so so tell me what brings what brings to you the desire? I know my desire, and I know we talked about this offline, but I want people to hear why, what brings this desire to the table to do this type of a podcast.
I think number one is to just have some fun with the game
Mhm.
and have some fun with college baseball, and try to bring more attention to some of these programs and some of these kids that are out there battling. Um, that's really it. I mean, again, it's the game at a different level, a more pure level. Um, so you can really, really get into the details and get to know people, and you watch them play for a lot of different reasons than the big multi-year contract.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just saw a contract for 2 years, $34 million for a first baseman. Um, and Reese Hopkins. He's going to go to Milwaukee. It's a little bit rich for my blood. He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but it's a little rich for my blood. 17 million for a first baseman that, is good when he's good. He's really good, but there's times where he's not as good. So it's a little rich for my
Yeah,
blood. But
definitely. And we're both hockey fans, and I love watching teams like the Blackhawks with a bunch of who they are when they're young and watch them grow. And it's the same reason. I mean, those guys, like you just mentioned, they're established, they're getting their payday. I want to see the next guy. I want to see the next Anthony Rizzo. I want to see the next Paul Konerko. I want to see the next Chris Sale, and kind of follow them along and root for them from, a little closer to the beginning of their career. and there's a ton of good talent to follow. So
100%. 100%. Good. Good. So I agree with you. You and I have been talking about this for well over a year. I'm excited about it because to me, MLIB and college are where the true fans lie. I mean, fans, don't get me wrong, you're a White Sox fan, Diamondbacks fan, I'm a Dodger fan. We bleed our colors. I get that, right? But we're also baseball peers, so we love to watch a good game. And I won't forget last year we went to a high A affiliate game, and a guy dove for a ball in left field and separated his shoulder. And you know, my wife looks at me and she says, "Boy, are you okay?" And I said, "That just probably ended his career." Um, and so that night it just ended his career. And she didn't understand, but you understood what I was talking about. I mean, because there's a guy that's going to take his spot, and you
sure,
know,
then yeah, you're going to lose the season, and once you get to a certain age, they're just going to replace you with a young guy. That's the minor leagues. But, college is a little different. The transfer portal changes everything. All the players have movement now. So the schools, the loyalty isn't really, always two-sided. But I think the pendulum is swinging both ways too. And I think you're going to see coaches who really reward loyalty and reward guys that stick around and see the thing
yeah,
through, work hard and grind it out when the going isn't always great. You can't always just jump ship when things get a little tough. You got to dig in and fight. And I think, the pendulum will swing the other way and those guys will get rewarded for sticking around.
absolutely. Um, so my next question, and please understand, this is our intro. This is our pilot episode. Dave and I have already talked about this.
Number
Dave knows
one,
what I'm going to ask him. But Dave, next question is can you brief everybody on what we have planned every week? And we're going to do our best to give you what we have planned. And some weeks we might not hit all the things. Some weeks we might hit a lot more of them. But can you tell everybody what we have planned for the week?
well, so obviously college baseball is a lot more than 30 or 32 teams to cover. It's hundreds of teams and multiple conferences and all of that. So impossible task. So what we're going to try to do is pick some series that are really interesting a little bit deeper, get into some of the top performers in those series, um, and bounce around a little bit and try to, maybe cover D1 and SEC and the big time, maybe jump down and cover a JUCO series for some teams that we may be aware of. So I think that's where we're headed here, and we may take a left turn here and there, and maybe talk about a conference in a little detail and talk about some hitters or pitchers or guests on. But I think the basis is going to be, let's pick a series or two, cover it deep, and look at the top performers. These are college kids; they're student athletes, so we're not going to call anyone out negatively. These kids are all fighting for their dream. So it's all going to be positive. We're going to call out the top guys and give them some love.
Yeah. And it's all, again, these are, you mentioned this earlier, these are kids. Some of them are adults, obviously, but a lot of them are younger kids. We're going to do our best not to have any negativity on the show. That's not what it's about. They'll get enough of that if they make it all the way. There will always be somebody telling them what they've done wrong. We want to uplift these, we want these student athletes to listen to this and be proud that they were mentioned on the show or anything like that. And so don't add us, don't come after us, don't say why weren't we harder, why didn't we ask, if that's the case and you really feel that passionate about it, you can start a show and you can ask those tough questions. We're gonna, we've both been athletes, so we understand what it's like on both sides of the coin. We just want to make sure that
Yeah, and
that we're giving them the
there's
best
gonna
shot.
there's gonna be times where we cover a series and you might cover a team that lost all three games or lost two out of three, but we may call out the starting pitcher because he pitched his butt off, even though
Yeah,
they lost. So That's what it's all about. Each of these guys are being coached to control what they can control. You go out there and you chuck it and you make your pitches and it doesn't go your way. You did your. I mean, I know these guys are team players and they would never take credit for having a good performance when they lose a game, but you know, we have the show. We can do that. They have to go back to the locker room and
Yeah.
kind of wear it. But
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
you know,
And honestly, Dave, you, you, you are the perfect guy for this. And I've been waiting to try to figure out a time where where we can make this happen and waiting for the right audience. Because honestly, we'll have guests on. Some of these kids can't, I'm sorry, some of these student athletes can't come on stuff publicly. Some of their schools have a no media policy. That's fine. We'll talk to parents. We'll talk to other people. Dave has a contact list. I've got a contact list. On occasion, we'll highlight different things as we get a little closer. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And this is the first season, obviously. So we're going to do our best to give you everything we got. And then, keep it rolling through into next season and the following season. So it just gets
yeah,
bigger and better.
there's gonna be an element of we're gonna cover what we think is most fun and most interesting. Hopefully, that is for you too. We may not get to a team, or we're gonna try. So.
Yeah. I guess my final question, Dave, is we talked about the desire and we talked about what we're going to cover, but why do you, why in your heart of hearts do you think that college baseball is so important to give this kind of love to?
Well, I think there's two reasons, and I'm gonna answer that two ways. One is because you know club baseball, travel baseball is bigger than ever. Um, Kids, are chasing their dreams. They want to get recruited. They want to be playing on the big stage in the College World Series. So, from that point of view, you want to be able to cover that and to give the guys that actually made it some love. But from the other side, I mentioned this earlier. Minor league baseball's contracted. So what that's done is it's forced players that might have signed in the past in a larger draft back into school. So the quality of the increase. So it's really, really, really good baseball. So, and if you've ever spent any time in one of these college towns where there's nothing else to do on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in April and May except just get down to the university and go to a game, you know how passionate those fan bases are. It's just a ton of fun, and it's just different. They're not there, buying a $50,000 suite. They're not there with 50,000 other people. You might be at a baseball field that holds 4,000, 3,000, 2,000 people. It's pretty intimate. You're close to the field. You get to know the players. It's just a different dynamic.
It very much is. And for me, Dave, if you were to ask me that same question, my response would be simple. I love baseball in its purest form. I look at the game and I think that so many things have changed in the game. So many things have changed. How we play it, the emotions. I mean, when you and I were playing it, can you imagine seeing a guy hit a home run and bat flip? I mean, can you imagine seeing that against a Nolan Ryan or any of these guys, right? I mean, Nolan Ryan would have domed you. You Mike Scott, any of those guys. Um,
But think about it. Think about it, right? I mean, on a big football game, what do the fans do? They storm the field. They tear down the goalpost. Basketball game, you cut down the nets, you storm the court. What do you do in baseball on a walk-off home run? You flip the bat, you run around, you got a group of guys waiting
yeah,
for your home plate. I mean, there's nothing better.
yeah, and I mean, so I love baseball in its purest form, and I feel like college athletes are coming out of high school and they're learning how to get better at the fundamentals. Get the stuff that they learned since they were little, right, is ingrained in you. And as crazy as this is, Dave and I played a long time. We won't show our ages or tell our ages. Um, but we played long enough to know that even to this day, you can watch a game on TV. You know the situation, you're aware of the situation, you know where the ball's hit, and you know where the cutoff guy is, you know different things of what needs to happen because it's so ingrained in us because we've done it for so long. And that's what these student athletes are doing. They're playing it at the most purest form. Nobody, the scouts aren't looking for the guy to throw it from the his butt on the right field wall to home plate without bouncing. He's looking to see if he can hit the cutoff man and avoid a second run scoring versus trying to show off his arm and overthrowing the catcher or letting the ball skip or something like that and costing another run. So that's why, to me, it's important because you're still watching fundamental baseball.
Well, and I think too that because of club ball and travel ball, kids are learning things earlier in their careers. They're coming to college much more prepared. They come with workout regimens. Some of them have had personal trainers already or position coaches, where that never happened when I was playing. So
Yeah,
when they're getting there as college freshmen, they're coming in with a lot more outlook on how they're supposed to play their position and how they're supposed to prepare their bodies and what they're supposed to eat and all that kind of stuff. Most guys just, back in the day, you just showed up and you said, I'm the shortstop. And hopefully you caught enough balls for the coach to believe you can play that position, hit enough. But, I just know
exactly.
personally, these guys, to get into these schools and play at the highest level, you got to take a senior 15.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those of you, kind of as a recap, for those of you that are listening to this, we plan on doing, you know, things like what's happening during the week. We're going to do our best to cover as much as we possibly can. We will have kind of a open mic fun facts thing. We might be talking about the Wake Forest or UCLA and or we're covering something specific to that, and all of a sudden somebody makes the Hall of Fame from that or something. So you might get fun facts throughout it. We're just gonna have a good time with it. And if you're interested, as you're watching this on YouTube, if you're interested in coming on the show, you can email TopFanRivalry at topfanrivalry@gmail.com or info at topfanrivalry.com, either or. You can hit us up on any of our socials, reach out to us. We'll be happy to have you on the show. Um, the one thing that Dave and I have a very, very hard understanding of is we want this show to be listened to by anybody and everybody of all ages. So it's very much a PG show. When you come onto our show, please make sure that you're talking like you're at your grandma's house and not like you're hanging out with the guys. Is that a nice way to say it, Dave? Because
That works.
we want a dad to be driving down the street listening to this podcast with his son and not have to worry about what he hears. So not that he hasn't heard it or said
100%.
it, I'm sure, without his dad being around, but we just don't want to encourage it.
100%.
So first night, we got our pilot in. Dave, is there anything else we want to cover?
Well, again, all these student athletes are on campus now. They're in preseason, playing scrimmages, getting their work in, trying to get ready for the season. There's some big preseason or opening season tournaments coming up. The Shriners Classic is in Dallas, 3 straight weekends. We're going to cover some of that. I know some junior colleges are playing. I know Central Arizona is try to pull some stats and some box scores from that and talk about it next week. So we're gonna hit the ground running on that kind of stuff. I think we'll look at since the bigger conferences aren't playing yet, we'll probably do some look at some of the rankings and maybe give some thoughts on some of the teams that are getting some big time publicity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Dave and I will be together a number of different places. I think we're planning on getting into Tennessee this year a couple of times. I think we're going to Texas a couple of times. I might convince them to come out here to California. I know we'll be together in Phoenix during spring training. So we're going to do our best to do everything we can to make sure that um, that we get you the best kind of coverage and be patient with us. It will be a learning curve. Um, as it is, Top Fan Rivalry has 17 different podcasts we do every week. So be patient with us. We're going to do our best we can. So, um, Dave, having said all this stuff, I'm excited. This
Yeah,
is, go ahead. I'm
I'd,
sorry.
I tell you what, I'd love to get out to see some UCLA games. Rock Chalowski there is their freshman shortstop, good friend of ours, and just a dynamite player. I'd love to see him live on that field. And then, I've got plans to be in Dallas for that Shriners Classic. I know I'm going to be in Tuscaloosa. I'm going to be in Knoxville. I'm going to be in Nashville at Vanderbilt. Planning to be in Gainesville. And right now, I'm planning on being at the SEC tournament as long as I can get a hotel room within an hour or two of the field. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's like a Taylor Swift concert.
yeah. So, and I'm actually going to be in Auburn as well. So those
Yeah.
are the plans right now. I've got ASU right in the backyard here. I'll catch that. I know I'm going to make it to center. And we'll go from there. It's gonna be fun. We'll do some lives. We can pop on
Yeah.
and maybe show you the fields and maybe give you a little bit of play-by-play for a little while. We'll see.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, Dave, I think for our pilot episode, I think we've done a great job. Don't you?
Well, the proof will be getting some folks to give it a listen and come on back for more episodes.
Absolutely. So for you that came in through the Top Fan Rivalry portal, this episode plus four more will be in YouTube. You're going to see these in YouTube. You also hear this verbally on Monday the 29th. This will be our Monday the 29th episode. That being said, it's important that you know after that, after the 5 episodes, it'll be in the locker room. We will have a discount for you, discount code to get in the locker room. If you're not familiar with that is, that's Top Fan Rivalries All You Can Eat. There will be about 700 pieces of material between written and podcast and rivalry talks and things like that this year in there. So it's $58 minus a 10% discount. So it's $52 for a year of baseball. So I don't know that that gets any cheaper or any better, right? I mean, $58 is pretty much what you're going to pay at parking at some MLB stadiums this year. So
Yeah, and you've got some great talent on a lot of those shows. So
yeah.
good stuff.
So I appreciate it, Dave. Stick around. Let's talk. And for those of you in this, welcome to the pilot episode, the first ever episode of College Top Fan Rivalry. Talk to you guys soon.
College game.